Hi, my name is Lindsay, and in this video, I'll explain how I teach the sound and spell exercise with four sounds, words that have four phonemes or four sounds. So the first thing that I gather is my word list. And if I am working on words with four sounds, then I'm going to be selecting words that have four phonemes. So, like all of these words have four sounds that I can easily segment into individual units of sound. Blab, b, l, a, b, four sounds. Alps, a, l, p, s. This particular list doesn't contain any digraphs like with the SH or CH spelling. I'll bring some of those into the lesson as well and explain how I use them. But this is the first item that you'll need, and you'll hold this out of the line of sight of the child. So this will be just for you. You won't show this to the child. And the other thing that you'll need to have with you is the sound and spell worksheet. Let's say, for instance, I wanted to give the child the word blob. Then I would have them say it back to me. So they'll say blob. And then as they go, they'll say b, l, a, b. Right? So they're saying the sound out loud as they're writing the letter at the same time that they're writing the letter. And then over here, this is where I want them to practice it for fluency. So they'll try to write it a little bit faster over here. I don't make them sound it out again when they're writing it on this line, but if you want to have them do that, you could have them do that too. So they just write it just like that. And then we would keep going. So maybe next I wanted them to spell the word cram, right? So then they would go cram. Right? They're segmenting each sound as they go along. Now, if they're a little bit more advanced and I think that they can handle it, I might ask them to cover up what they just spelled and then write it again from memory, and they would go and then they would check their work to make sure that it looks like what it looks like originally. I'm going to show an example where a child might make a mistake, and this is a pretty common mistake. So let's say, for instance, I give them the word skin, and they say skin, and then they go sk, I, So before I let them go over here and write it for fluency, I'm going to stop them, and I'm going to say, okay, let's check for accuracy. This is a letter that we use for k, but what's another letter that we can use for k? And if they don't tell me K, then I'll say, okay, so let's go up here. Here are some ways that we can spell the K sound, right? K as in cat, like what you just did. And then how about K as in kite, like the letter K. So I'll do this to help them out if they need me to, if they don't come to this on their own. And then instead of going to a new spot, I'll just have them strike through. I like to have them do what I like to say is strike through, redo, or strike through, take two. And then they'll rewrite it above it, sounding it again as they go. So they'll say s, k, I, and I probably wouldn't have them cover it up at this point. I would want them to be able to look back if they need it. And then maybe if they did make that mistake, I might ask them to sound it out again as they go, but just to write it a little bit faster. Sk, I, And then they would keep going. Maybe then I'd give them the word gift. They would say gift. G, I, f, t. And I'm really listening for them to say each sound as they're writing the letter. So I don't want them to say g, I, f, t, and then write the letters silently. I want them to do it at the same time. So they would rewrite it. And then depending on the level of words that I'm giving them, I might ask them to use the word in a sentence. I might ask them to tell me what the word means, what they already know about that word, and we might stop to have a little conversation about the word before we move on to the next word. It's always good to incorporate vocabulary, and I try to do it whenever possible. But if a student is really like on cognitive overload with spelling these sounds, then I might not bog them down even more. I might just keep the focus on the spelling at that particular moment. And then I could also give them words where there are digraphs, so like two letters that are code for one sound. So let's say, for instance, I wanted them to spell the word shift. So the student would say shift, And then I would instruct them, since sh is code for one sound, we're going to spell the sh sound on one line. So they would put sh, I, f, t. And then once I check for accuracy, they'll go over and rewrite it, shift, just like that. And then maybe I want to give them the word punch. So they would say punch, ch. And again, I'm putting the CH on one line because those are two letters that we use for one sound. And then they would rewrite it, punch. And then they would keep going and fill up the rest of the worksheet. And there you have it. That's how I do sound and spell with 4 sounds.